Air Patrol North. Visit airpatrolnorth.ca. Our guest today, Darren McCarty, one of the toughest dudes to ever lace up the blades. He also scored a couple of the biggest goals in Detroit Red Wings history. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Today's guest was born in Burnaby, BC. He grew up in Leamington, Ontario. He had a great junior career with the Belleville Bulls, where he was named OHL Player of the Year. He had almost 200 pro hockey fights. Lead singer in the band Grinder. He was an author, played 15 years in the NHL, 13 of those years with the Red Wings. Winner of 4 Stanley Cups. He scored one of the biggest goals in Wings history. He is co-host of Big D Energy Sports Show. Ladies and gentlemen, D-Mac, Darren McCarty. Good to have you on, D-Mac.
You know what? What an honor, Joe. Obviously, fan of the program, and just to be able to be on here. I think you hit everything. I think I can leave now. I think you covered everything else. But again, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we see the Bob Probert tribute right behind you too, and we're going to get around to that. But I want to talk about the awesome book that you wrote, which I just finished reading this past week. It's called My Last Fight: The True Story of a Hockey Rock Star. You know, it was written a few years ago, but I finally got a chance to read it. It was just a spectacular book. And you tell me that there's another book that's going to be out shortly, and tell us about that one.
Yeah, you know what? So, if people who aren't familiar with my journey. I wrote My Last Fight, True Story of a Hockey Rock Star about 10 years ago, I think in 2012, 2013. And if you see the struggles now, I'm an alcoholic insomniac. So it's been a constant battle for me as I sit here today, which isn't funny because I wrote the book before, but I'm coming up November 11th will be 8 years sober of alcohol and opiates and stuff like that, stuff that I fought. So it was really interesting because as I wrote the book, it was great therapy for me. But you can see my struggle as everybody in my journey, just to cut down on drinking and trying to handle it and stuff like this. So, like I said, I'd written it 10 years ago, so we needed to. And books take a long time to write. So what we did over the past 3 years is put together a 150-page graphic novel called Life's a Grind, Enjoy My Truth, with Mess Bucket Comics, my buddy Dom Ruggiero, who I do a bunch of different comic book stuff with. But I took the stories and the one thing about cartoons and comics is that they last a lifetime. So I was able to add a few more stories and be able to extend a little bit past 2015 to let everybody know. But I think that, for me and anybody out there who's struggling with anything, this was great therapy for me to get my truth out there. A lot of times I don't think I'm any different, that people get, sometimes they hear things, but they don't hear it from the horse's mouth. This was just a way for me to give it to you from the horse's mouth in the way that I saw things. And I always say, if you saw it differently and you were around, then write a book, and tell me your truth. Because I'm not saying that I saw it the right way, but this is what I remember and what I saw. And I think that the fact of being as transparent as I was, when people understand that it's not a hockey book, it's a life book. When I tell everybody that my number one editor was my wife, Cheryl. So it really appeals, I feel, to a female crowd also, to try to get some insight. And pretty much it was the greatest therapy that I could do for myself, and just getting everything out there and sort of trying to start over, as a lot of us try to do. So I appreciate anybody who's read it. And if it's helped anybody, just, one thing that I always say is, what you do is not who you are. We're all human beings. We all either put our pants on right leg or left leg, but we're pretty similar. So definitely something I'm very proud of.
Yeah, there's a lot in there I can relate to. I mean, I'm sober a long time now, 31 years, but I can certainly relate to a lot of the stuff in there. And when I read that book, you talk about transparency. Yeah, I don't see Darren McCarty hiding anything in this book. He's not hiding anything. This is it.
And Joe, what's important, right? I tell on myself. I ain't afraid to
Right.
ever tell on myself. Now, I never tell on anybody else because I can't remember exactly who was there at the time. So, like plausible deniability, but again, to everybody else truth, but to that point, and congratulations. And I think it's just that, like something, no matter how much time you have behind you, the true statement of, one day at a time. And, today's a new day and you just, got to attack this day is something that I try to do on the daily.
Well, you compared your life in the book to a Quentin Tarantino movie. What are the similarities that you see?
Well, I think a lot of times it's out of order. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The chaos is out of order. And sometimes, you could see the ending come. I just think the characters, I've met a lot of those Tarantino characters throughout my life, but I think that if you love his films, there's always some sort of message there for some of us who might be a little bit more twisted. And at the end of the day, the way that what I relate to the Tarantino movie is the chaos is the and now it's still a Tarantino movie, but it's controlled chaos, right? So it's something more of understanding, I think, as but the transparency and the truth, right? To get down to the point of what Quentin Tarantino doesn't back away from, he throws it in your face is sort of what you get when you get Darren McCarty.
Well, you mentioned in the book that had ADHD as a kid. I don't know if you were undiagnosed ADHD, but you had ADHD. That was apparent as time went on. And how do you think that affected who you were and what you became?
Well, I think that Joe, like when I look back, I always have this line is that, hey, I knew who DMAC was when I was 6 years old, but I didn't meet Darren until I was 46. Right. I think with the ADHD or the mental health or whatever like that, it's just there's a huge positive in the fact of the drive behind it, but really you're out of control because there's no break, and it's sort of like the governor's wide open and you can't slow it down. So you have to learn. It's about self-awareness and learning about who you are. I always say don't lie to the person in the mirror, right? So again, going back to saying what you do is not who you are. It took me a long time to realize that because I knew who DMAC was. I didn't know who Darren was. And I think that in life sometimes we lose track of what's important, right? So with the ADHD and stuff like this, and I'm no different than everybody else. I think 80% of the population. It's just how can you deal with it and what does this mean? I think it's a huge positive because it was the driving factor for me to no matter what I was told, because I was one of those kids that I was always told why I wouldn't be something. And I always like shoving up people's asses of why I would be. So I've been told why I can't. I think that people over time, now that I'm in my 51st year, realize that you shouldn't challenge me with things like that because I can accomplish anything I put my mind to. I realize that. So it's about being more selective in that. But I think that, with the ADHD at a young age, like anybody else, is that, you don't really understand it. And just as we get older, I mean, heck, I'm like everybody else, man. If I could apply what I know now 30 years ago,
Mm.
would we be where we are? But that's, unfortunately, that's not the game of life. So what I try to do now is just be transparent with my experiences. That's why I call it my truth. And um, if I can help the younger generation, male or female, no matter what it is, to avoid the mountains and tackle some issues and stuff maybe that they have when they're molehills, they can be better people and discover who their Darren is for lack of a better term, earlier than maybe 46, then that's a win. So I don't hide from any of my experiences. Yeah, there's some things I would love to change, but I also understand that everything's a lesson.
So you had a great junior career. It started out a little slowly, but you got rolling in Belleville. You talk about playing with Brent Gretzky and in Belleville. You said he would make the NHL in today's game. Why do you think he didn't make it then, but would have made it today?
Well, I think back in the 90s, it was size, right? I mean, if you were 6 foot taller than the 6 foot tall, but if you were 6'4" and 220 pounds, I mean, that's equivalent today to the guy that can skate lights out on the ice, right? Speed is the new size in the NHL. Brent Gretzky just wasn't big enough, and unfortunately, maybe like when you're a smaller guy like that, it's just like didn't have maybe the durability or whatever else. Or also too is the thing with Brent is he'd always got pigeonholed as Wayne's younger brother. You look at like the pro career that he had. You know, he skated like Wayne. He looked like a smaller version of Wayne. You know, I think that Brent was more feisty than Wayne was. So when I think back of my junior year, I mean, I won Player of the Year in the OHL in 1992 and 55 goals, 127 points, and that was because Coach Larry Mavity, God rest his soul, the legend. That I was the only time I was off the ice was when I was in the penalty box. And the fact to have Brent Gretzky, Jake Grimes, Tony Cimolero, Scott Boston, our veteran guys, that it was just sort of like the five of us, and it was something that a year I'll never forget. You know, small shout out to Brent too, because during before our last season in the summer of '91, I was able to go out to LA with him for a week or so and hang out at Wayne's house and do all that stuff. So that was incentive. See, to me, that was incentive enough to have a great year and stuff. But my last year in junior, I'll never forget, and special memory with all those guys, especially being Brent Gretzky. One of the things I'll mention is I think it was after maybe our first or second year, but we went to Brent's house and Walter Phyllis's in Brantford. And in the basement, dude, it was like the Hockey Hall of Fame. I got pictures, like I wear Tretiak jerseys and all the jerseys that Wayne collected and the trophies that he had. It was like a small Wayne Gretzky, you know, Hockey Hall of Fame. That's one of the things that was super cool too.
Yeah. Did you find that inspiring?
Oh, 100%. Right. That's where you want to get to and attain. And sometimes you need that to see, you know, what it's like on the other side, and that be the motivation. So that probably just kicked me in the pants just a little bit more.
Yeah, you talked about in the book hanging with Wayne and Janet in Los Angeles, and that was some pretty cool times. But I want to talk about that draft year because, as you mentioned, it was pretty awesome. As you said, 55 goals, 72 assists, in just 65 games. OHL Player of the Year, and you did it all. You were hitting, you were fighting, you were scoring, and the Bulls were winning, and everything was going pretty well. You know, but were you surprised to hear when you got your name called at the draft? Were you surprised, or were you ready?
No, I was actually pissed that Detroit didn't take me with their first round pick, because I thought that if I went that I was going Ottawa first pick in the second, they took Chad Penny. So when I got by Ottawa, and you know, there was some rumbling with Edmonton and stuff, but when it got to I didn't care. When it got to that second round with Detroit, I still remember to this day that sort of feeling when they announced right winger Belleville Bulls, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm the only guy that can be drafted that played right wing on Belleville sitting in the stands. So that was definitely a dream come true to be drafted in the Montreal Forum. And, you know, I remember running around Montreal that night with my Red Wing jersey on. So definitely had the whole family there. It's something, cousins and everybody that I grew up with. So we something that we shared and never forget.
The Red Wings, played reasonably close to Leamington. Were they one of the teams you followed as a kid, or where were the
Listen,
Leafs?
no, they were my. You know what? The Leafs can eat a. You know what? The Leafs messed up. They didn't take me, but that was all my cousins. It was Montreal and Toronto that shoved down my throat. Listen, we were the Dead Wings, worse than what the Wings were for the past like 6-8 years. But we could beat people up. And then when Stevie came when I was 11, and then Provy and Joey, and all I ever wanted to do was be like the Robin to Provy or Joey's Batman. So it was easy for me because I was focused, and I knew, and I don't doesn't matter if people laugh or not, I proved it. Is the fact that I knew that there was something that I could bring to that team. It was just a matter of, hey, and don't get it twisted. I mean, I would be happy to get drafted anywhere and would have, gave everything to whatever team, but to be to the team that you grew up with, that you knew the history, you knew the dark days and stuff like that, was absolutely a dream come true. And I knew the role that I needed to play for this team to win. Right. And so it was easy because I watched it since I was, since 70. First game I ever went to in Olympia in 1977. So, and to give or take, for some perspective, the house that I grew up in Leamington, Ontario, give or take for 10 minutes for the border between Detroit and Windsor, I could get to Joe Louis Arena in 40 minutes. So that's why I consider myself Detroit's favorite stepchild.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so you spent a little bit of time in Adirondack in the minors before you made the big club, and you called the Adirondack Red Wings team the toughest team in hockey. Why was that?
Toughest team in pro hockey that year for sure. We had like 8 killers. I was like the fresh meat on the bone, so it was easy for me because I had all these guys behind me. I had like Kirk Tomlinson and Serge Engelhardt and Bob Bugner and Dennis Biel and Jim Cummins and Gord Krupke. Like I had guys behind me that, so being the young guy, I remember tell a story in the book that we're playing in Providence, and me and Kirk Tomlinson, who pound for pound the toughest guy that I've ever played with. We called him Gunner. He's like 5'10", 180 pounds, and just we called him Gunner because he threw machine gun hands. And we cornered Darren Banks, him and we're arguing over who's going to fight him. And he said he was going to, and I said, go ahead. And instead of letting him go ahead, I jumped in, and I got in a lot of crap for that after. So, made it really easy to establish. I think I had 45 majors that year in the minors, but when I got guys behind me, I was, you're never afraid. So that,
Yeah,
and we had a great team
yeah.
too. Just unfortunate we lost in 7 to Springfield, who lost the finals to Cape Breton that year.
Well, you talk about it. It's kind of nice having those guys around you who can support you, a good supporting staff. It makes you feel a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher. And the same thing when you're on the ice with some of the skilled guys. So you make it to the NHL. You tell me in the book that you were a self-proclaimed leader. Did you find that to be a positive or a negative? The fact that you bled out pretty easy.
Yeah. You want a cement head. You want a cement head that bleeds like a sieve, because you get, the girls like it. Like I said, score goals to get money, get scars, and the girls will talk to you. So no, right. I never had a problem with bleeding, but I would always. I got scars all over, stitches. I think I've had close to 500 in my face. So it just, but you got to have the cement head to go with it. So then it doesn't really affect it. So I think it plays well.
Right, and you also drew a lot of blood against your opponents. We have a contest here with Matthew Barnaby, clearly getting the better of this contest. Tell us about your relationship with Matt Barnaby.
Well, I love Matt Barnaby, but you know what? He was a rat, and this time he got caught in the trap. So I got him real good. he will explain. I think I caught him pretty good for stitches. We talk about this. There's no hard feelings. I mean, he's cut out of the same cloth that I am, team guy and stuff like that. So that's just one of the times that you're able to get your hands on a guy like that. So no hard feelings, all part of the game. As you said, you got to hit him a lot harder than that. So I mean, he's got a good scar to take from it. So definitely mad respect for Matt Barnaby and the teammate that he was and the way he played.
Okay, so here's another tough, real tough dude. We got some biz of you with Ty Domi. Was Ty one of the toughest guys you ever fought?
Absolutely, and here's the one thing, right? Is that a lot of times when fighting Ty is that I would go to tying him up because Ty likes to get you swinging around in a circle, and that's where he's at an advantage. So most of the time, you're not going to hurt Ty Domi. We saw what he did with Proby and stuff like that. So just to frustrate him, that's what you can do to make him mad, and that's more or less what I was going to do anyway. So just yeah, I mean, it used to be awesome, Maple Leaf Gardens, when Proby and I would line up on the draw, and he'd look at me and okay, he's fighting Domi, and I get to get punched around by Ken Baumgartner, which was an honor too. So all part of the game. But that's what you live for.
Yeah, Domi had that low center of gravity. You talked about Kirk Tomlinson, similar kind of thing, eh? Like Domi also had the reputation of throwing a lot of hard punches too in rapid succession, machine gun style, right?
Oh, absolutely. He gets it. You see some of his best fights, and it doesn't matter the size of the guy, and that's why you got to be with the bigger guys, and he gets them swinging off balance. Yeah, Ty was such a technician. I mean, but I've been watching Ty Domi since he's playing, 14 years old, playing junior C in Bell River, fighting 20-year-olds. So, I mean, it was really nothing for us in Essex County really it didn't really surprise us. And then when I played junior B in Peterborough, he was with the Pete. So I've known Ty a long time, and he's always been tough in that aspect.
Another guy you talked about in the book you mentioned is Joey Kosher. You talked about him a considerable amount. How tough was this dude?
Well, here's the fight I always talk about. Toughest guy in pro hockey. Listen, he hits the only time I squared off right-handed, switched to left, but he threw that punch right there when he took my helmet off. He took a piece of it. Didn't get me, but we both hit our heads on the ice, and right there he looks at me and he says, "You all right, kid?" And I said, "Thanks for not killing me, Mr. Kosher." So in hindsight, he didn't kill me, and he came back a few years later out of the beer league and was one of the biggest reasons why we won the cups, because Joey Kosher's nickname is Papa, and he was sort of the father figure to all us younger grind line guys and stuff like this. So definitely, yeah. You don't want to get hit by those ruined careers, man. That's why I always say, fighting Joe Kosher, right? Like Joey's just gonna absolutely hit you and destroy you. Proby's more like a lion; he's gonna maul you, and you're gonna wish you were dead. So, no bueno either way.
Yeah, there's no good side. You just got to hope that he hits your helmet. So a lot of tough guys from your neck of the woods. Was Leamington area a hotbed for scrappers? Is it what you found? My son-in-law's from Tillsonburg, so I
think it's Essex County though. Windsor,
yeah.
I mean, like I said, we used to, rest his soul, Barry Potomsky, who I grew up with, was one of the toughest guys my age. Proby. You got Bob Boone. It starts with the Godfather, John Ferguson. So I think there's something in the water. Maybe it's growing up around Lake Erie and stuff like this. But I mean, I grew up, farm kid like anybody else. I mean, it was part of the game. It was part of, sort of society and stuff like that. And as a Canadian kid from Leamington, being a tomato picker and everything like that, you learned how to stick up for yourself. So yeah. A lot of the stuff it's sort of rite of passage.
Tomato pickers and tobacco farmers, right? So,
Now Cannabis.
yes, it's now Cannabis, right? So, okay, so you're fighting you're talking about the book fighting a guy one time, and he says to you, "How can you stick up for guys like Maltby and Draper? They're a holes." And your response was, "Yeah, they're my a holes. Sticking up for these
Hey,
dudes was part of your game." Yeah.
talk about the grind line, and Wendell Clark said it the best because he goes, no wonder they're so good. There's four of them because the Joey Kosher, Chris Draper, Kirk Maltby, myself. Yeah, here's fighting another, Donald
For
Brashear,
sure.
always guy who fight tough, strong, tough. We fought a whole bunch of times. Um, and the whole thing is you just, you try not to get hurt. He fell there, so makes you look even better. But yeah, no, grapes and malts, and what made us all so good is we took so much pride in checking the other teams' top lines, especially in the playoffs. The Legion of Doom, Sakic or Forsberg in those Colorado series, and then when we needed to, we had to score goals. But yes, exactly, Draper, Maltby, two of the biggest a holes that you'll ever find to play the game on the ice. But again, they're mine. So what are we gonna do about it?
They're my a holes, yes, indeed.
And they
So,
still are my A. They're getting this Detroit
yeah.
Red Wings on the ice back together, and they still are my A holes. Just for a fact.
So you also mentioned that having the referees on your side and linesmen on your side was a benefit. How so?
No, I mean you always want, and it's funny because we just played an alumni game this weekend against the Boston Bruins, and Don Koharski and David Massenhoven were both of the refs, and relating back, and it was always talking about. I didn't wear a letter, but I always had a great rapport with the rest of the linesmen. A lot of it was through growing up. Don Van Massenhoven was a ref in the OHL when I played, so it's always a rapport. I don't know if you know this a lot, but a lot of times the guys with the C's or the A's, they have. Sorry about that. They have a tough time communicating, and they like to use a lot of expletives, and maybe the point doesn't get across because of the heat and the motion of the game. So you need somebody like myself to be the diplomat and sort of voice the reason. So whether it was the linesman, because the linesman could save your life, you never wanted to be on the bad side of them or put them in a bad spot because they could protect you, especially in a fight and stuff like this. And the refs, I mean, I was always taught that, what does it gain sort of yelling at them? I could always say, hey, I think you missed it. Will you go look at it and we can talk about it and have the respect? So I think that's a big part of the game. But you need the yings and yangs, right? So
Right.
you need the guys that you need a balance, but you also have to make sure that I always thought that at the end of the day, and I was grateful for this, that if I asked, for an explanation or something, that for the most part you got one. But you didn't, and most of the time you didn't like it, but you got one.
Yeah.
And that was a start. And it starts with that. That's the respect of the game.
Right. You have the boy who cried wolf, right? The guys who complain every time there's a call because they think there's a problem with it. And I mean, that's got to be tiring for officials after a while. And you know what? I mean, if I'm an official, I can't help myself to fingering that guy purposely because I'm so bloody tired of him. I mean, it's
Well, there's a balance too, right? And then there's also where it's see, Scotty Bowman's not just the greatest coach; he's the greatest psychologist, right? So it's a lot of psychology going on there, man. Like let's say, for an example, if this ever happened, not saying it would, but let's say Chris Draper got a little perturbed and would start be going off, maybe on a linesman in the face-off or whatever. Well, maybe Darren McCarty would come in and tell Chris Draper what an asshole he was, for being that way, and then they'd start yelling at each other, and it would take the heat off the ref being mad at him because I was mad at him. And if we good cop, bad
right.
cop, sort of stuff like that. So there's a lot of psychology to go with it. You never want to, especially with officials. No time did I ever believe, they're out to get you or anything like that. It's a lot of times it's human error. It's just, what are you going to move for? The one thing you don't want one call to affect the next call. or an attitude because of a grudge to affect something. Not saying that it would, but why would you even put yourself in that position?
Well, you talked about Scotty. So would that directive come from Scotty? He'd tell you to go talk to Draper, and that was
No directive. Scotty, no. You don't know Scotty. Scott, everything was you figured it out, right? Like,
oh, okay.
I mean, maybe there's a subtle time, but it was sort of how, because Scotty be yelling at it too. So he knew that you were the buffer, and if you're standing there, because he would go off on something, and then you'd have to use Scotty like this guy's crazy. And yeah, the ref, oh yeah, I know, you should see him in the room, like stuff like that. You gotta. There's a psychology to it. The game in between the game, and there was no one better than Scotty Bowman at it.
Well, you mentioned Scotty. He called you his second favorite right winger of all time, behind some guy named Guy Lafleur. That's pretty high praise.
That was my Hall of Fame moment, bro. And this was so after we used to win the Cup, Mr. Miller's Village, our owners have a big party, and we're standing around this pool, like a pool of shrimp cocktail, like the biggest pool of shrimp cocktail you can see. And Scotty comes up, and I was standing next to my father-in-law, Norm Richards, at the time, and Scotty said, Mac, one of the things, that I regret is I didn't tell my players how much I appreciate them. And I'm like, yeah, Scotty, you brought me in the league and stuff. And he's like, shut up. And that happened a lot. I was like, yeah. He said, and then he said, what I wanted to tell you was you're my second favorite right winger ever to play for me, next to Guy Lafleur. And then boom, shuffled off. And
wow.
Thank God Norm was there to hear it. So yeah, that's all I need. If anybody knows me, it's just I just have to be heard. I don't have to be right, and it's just a little bit of appreciation, which I always got from my guys. I always felt appreciated for what I did, and that's then we'll move on down the road. So so I got that in my back pocket.
Yeah, beautiful moment, no doubt about it. Now, I know you were tight with a lot of your teammates, like Brendan Shanahan, Leafs president. We have a clip from a game show that you were on together on ESPN. I don't know if you remember this or not. Let's have a look at that.
Yeah.
Darren, what's the worst thing Shanny has ever done to you?
Scotty, he has a bad habit of stretching naked. Oh, what? We come in the room, it's like, I'll be coming too late, and then be like on his bed, and I'll be like, That's not exaggerating.
And that's torture to you.
Like, he doesn't do it funny, but like, walk in and then it's like,
And you need therapy after that, don't you? That's not what he said.
I'm 36.
Shanny, what did you say?
When I lay in bed, I keep the sheets on me when I'm stretching. I don't know, what did you say, dude? That was tough. I know, thanks for, I picture like I'm in a tripod when you open the door. That's not
Hey, Shanny, what did you say?
I said I criticized your singing, which I'm going to do now forever. But that's too easy, man.
I personally believe it's much worse to stretch naked in front of another man. That's just me.
Yeah, I would say
there's
no doubt about that.
Not in front of another man, but you walk into the room and then you'd want. I'd walk in and walk. Come on, man. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, we're tight. To this day, I hope that that's the one reason I hope that Toronto gets it right is for him. But I think his hands are a little bit more tied. But I love Shanny. Always has on and off the ice. One of the best humans and the best teammates you can find. And anytime I can bust the balls, I will.
Yeah. So having known him as the guy who stretches naked in front of you all the time, are you a little surprised that he's now running the richest franchise in the NHL and one of the most storied?
Absolutely not. He's got his own room now, that's for sure, so he can stretch all the time. And to the point, he wouldn't do it in front of you. He'd just be doing that when you walked in the room. So now he can do it.
Okay.
He can do wherever he wants. No, it doesn't surprise me because he's one of the smartest human beings I know.
So before you guys reached the pinnacle, right? That the glory of the cup, you lost to the Devils, you lost to Colorado. But what did you learn from those setbacks?
You know what? Perseverance, and the fact is, I was talking about this the other day, is that what you learn is the fact that the number one thing is belief in yourself in the room. We were talking about this. I forgive, but I never forgot the fact that we were too European, we were too Russian, we were too soft,
Right.
we weren't good enough, all that stuff. But in the room, we believed it. And so, you go to March 26, 97. I mean, that was the, Red Wing D-Day, for lack of a better term, because that was the precipice of everything. And because we had to win that hockey game because of everything that culminated from when I started there, whether it was winning the President's Trophy, losing to San Jose the first year, going to the finals, losing to Jersey, setting the league record, 62 wins, losing in Game 6, Chris Draper getting annihilated right in front of me by Claude Lemieux, him never apologizing, losing all 3 games of the 96-97 season. So the only way out's through, bro. So had to definitely get it done on that March 26, 97 game. But the bottom line was the belief in everybody else in the locker room. And it was
Right.
wild because those moments, nothing is ever really said. It's just implied if you're on the same page and you're willing to do everything else. And if I talk about March 26, 97 or Sweet Revenge, Fight Night at the Joe, whatever it is, you always look at how did it start, right? How did the melee start? Igor Liriano,
And,
all
and
5'5", 140
Forsberg.
pounds, soaking wet Igor Liriano. Not the strongest, the fastest, the biggest,
Right.
but maybe the eldest or the wisest. Right there, as you can see right there, Forsberg and Larionov, and I know that Lemieux's on the ice, and Shanny breaks me free, and I end up cold cocking him. I don't know that all this is going on behind me because I'm trying to put his face through the boards right in front of Drapes, and then I need him with something that I don't condone. But I was raised by John Rambo, and he drew first blood, so to this day, Claude Lemieux's got a welt on his head from where I need him to remind him not to be dumb. So this was just, we believed in each other. You never thought that this would happen, but watch Bernie slip the left here. This is
Right.
great.
So,
this brought us all
March
together.
26, 97, Bloody Wednesday. There's been nicknamed a lot of different things, but I want to talk about, so Chris Draper takes, gets mauled by Lemieux, gets his face shattered, his jaw busted in a couple of places. He was basically done. This was retribution for that, but it was also, it had more than that to it. Tell us about the real.
Yeah. Okay. So Game 6 of the year before, final game, Claude Lemieux hits Chris Draper from behind, right in front of me, breaks his jaw in 4 spots, crushes his orbital bone. In life and sports, bad things happen, but you can't lose respect for a fellow human being. And the big thing was Claude Lemieux said, screw Chris Draper. He didn't apologize. Said you wouldn't have heard of him if you did it. And, it's part of the game. It's not part of the game. It's personal. So it was personal. It was really personal. I mean, the only thing that was ever said between anybody was between me and Chris Draper when I got him out of the hospital 2 days after that with his jaw wired shut in 4 spots in the titanium places. I looked at him and I said, I'll take care of it. And that was it. Nothing was ever said between any of us to what happened on the ice. So the fact that it was put into the big guy's hands upstairs and I'm the messenger and it played out like that, but not just like that, because the biggest thing is we had to win the game. So I slayed the dragon. We got Lemieux right here, but we were still down in the game. And the fact that we were down 5-3 and tied it up, went to overtime. Oh, by the way, I got 4 minutes for roughing and a 10-minute misconduct for that.
Yes.
Stayed in the game and scored the overtime winner.
How is that, eh? That's what I call sweet revenge, right?
So at the end of that game, and it was in the Wing Wheel Nation, everybody, and it didn't matter. It was a team, state, city, world, country, universe, whatever. The proverbial, it's going to be all right. Don't know what it means. It's going to be all right. And that was the catapult because, yeah, absolutely, bro.
Okay, so we talked about the physicality and the fact that you just scored the overtime winner in that game. You scored a lot of playoff goals along the way that were key goals, and you seem to really turn it on come playoff time. We got a good one against the Sharks. Nice setup by Sheldon Kennedy. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, you know what? I got it was that was our rookie year. I think me, Shelley, Primo, or Proby were on the same line in the playoffs against San Jose. We lost in 7, but I mean, I had 3 goals and 2 assists in that one. Just simple middle lane drive back in the day where a guy can't pick you up. So I think I ended up scoring. I played, I think 150 or so playoff games, and found the net a few times. I scored a big clinching goal, and I even scored when I went to Calgary. Scored an overtime goal, round 1 there. When I look back at that, it's cool to be able to score, but yeah, it blows me away because we're still using wood sticks. I did it with a Louisville wood stick. I remember that stick for some reason. You won't find one these days.
Well, okay, here's a sweet one. This is Stevie Osman to Bob Airy to Darren McCarty, and to tell us about Stevie Osman as a leader.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Steve, what can you say? I mean, not only the person, the player, and stuff like that. And we used to laugh because Bobby used to played with Stevie in Peterborough. And he used to say to Stevie, go, yo, Stevie, I brought you into this league. And he says, yeah, and you two are going to take me out of this league. So anytime you got to play with Stevie, that was the whole flex with me and the grind line. We mentioned there was 4 of us because I'd start the game with Maltz and Drapes. Then Joey would play the game, and I would end the game with them. And the other time I'd have to go, make sure Eisman was okay. He had to make sure he patrol his right side. That's why he was such a great defensive forward. That's why he said nobody can knock him from 150 points to 80 like D-Mac.
From 150 to 80. That's
150
deceleration,
to 80, I can gear you down real hard. But you also collect trophies in that time. So.
Oh yeah, that's what's more important, right? And then Scotty talks about Eisman changing his game for the betterment of the team, right? He changed his game for the betterment of the team, right?
Everything is lead by example with them. Everything is lead by example. Man of few words, but when he does talk, he means it. But he leads by example. Whether it's in 0-2 playing on like half a leg, doing whatever it takes. He'll do whatever it takes. I tell everybody is that if you don't understand is that I think that Chris Draper and myself have some of the biggest love for this organization and pride in being a Red Wing. Steve Yzerman is ours combined. Steve Yzerman is greater. You'll hear us be a little bit more vocal, but nothing he wants more than to right this ship because this is a lot of who he is.
Right. It's home, right? So you had a lot of success against Patrick Waugh. A lot of success.
I did. He does. I don't think he likes me very much.
Okay, we got some McCarty playoff goals against Patrick Waugh. Here on the wraparound, Vic, we're moving ahead to McCarty playoff goals. Because we've been jumping around the order here, but this is good. So it's a wraparound goal that we're looking for. You and scoring on Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, it's there's always, you ask any goalie, but there's always somebody that has your number. And for me, it just seemed that one of the greatest goalies of all time, I was able to put the puck behind him more than once, and usually in the playoffs. So I know that if I look back in those playoff series, I think I had 3 and 4 goals in a bunch of different series against Colorado over time. I know that the hat trick in 02 and stuff like that, and then scoring in game 6, the 2-0 game. So doesn't mean,
we got
hey, you
another
know
one,
what?
Frank. Yeah.
All right, everybody's got that number. So
Okay, so just over a minute to go now, and you're sitting it all alone. And you're going to pick the corner on, as you said, one of the greatest goalies in NHL history. And there we go.
Bread and butter. That's Larry Mavety, my junior coach, said if you're deacon on a breakaway, you're going to get benched. Shoot that thing, and any right-handed shot knows you got to put it upstairs where Normie Bates keeps his mom.
Oh, beautiful
You know what's funny
shot,
is
man.
I thank you. I scored this one, and I think this was game 2. But in one of the next games, I had the same opportunity and just missed. So, yeah, thank God that it's not how many, it's when you score them. I'll stick with that anyways because I didn't score a lot.
Exactly. Well, here's one of the best of the best. Okay, this is the Stanley Cup final now against the Flyers, and we're going to have a look at one of the best goals you're ever going to see in a playoff.
I go to dump it in. For lack of a better term, and I'll tell you this right now. When I made the move and I saw Hextall at the corner of my eye, the flash of orange, I realized a couple of years ago, growing up in Leamington, Ontario, our colors were red and white. Well, Essex is our main rival, and their colors were orange and black. So how many times have I seen that jersey growing up? And when I pulled it to the middle, I said, please don't miss the net. Best part of that, double pirouette in the corner. First guy I see, Steve Yzerman with the eyes the size of dinner saucers going, what the F was that? And me going, and him telling me, well, thank God you don't have to do it again. So thank God he didn't have to do it again. And God bless Eric Lindros for scoring with like 13 seconds left or whatever he did to make it 2-1 to make this Stanley Cup clinching goal, and also gave me my favorite memory because I was on the ice when the buzzer went the 97 Cup. So to be on the ice with Yzerman, Shanahan, Lidstrom, and Konstantinov, what a rush.
Right. Yeah, that was the goal scorer's goal, backhand to forehand, beating Ron Hextall. What a beautiful moment that must have been. And, you talked about Scotty putting you on the ice for the end of the game. A lot to take in there. A lot to take in there. It just shows you the kind of confidence he had in you, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things is, and that's where live and die. Like, you got to take pride. One of the secrets is, what are you going to do better than 99.9% of the rest of the players? For me, it's being physical, and then once playing physical is to own your wall and your own end. So he knew life or death. That puck came around my way, it was going to get out, or I would die trying. So that, as the player, for me as a player, to have that confidence from your coach in you says it all.
You also spent some time as the lead singer in the group Grinder. And tell us about that experience.
Yeah, no. So, actually we're Grinder's on a hiatus to the end of November because my lead, my rhythm guitarist broke his wrist. Had to get a plate in his hand, but we're actually look for us coming up soon. In talks with Sony Digital. We're gonna release a few more things and be back out on the road. Passion project, along like the book, writing songs and lyrics and performing a great form of therapy. Been doing it with Billy. Doing my guy Billy Reedy for a long time. So Grinder still lives. You never know, might be in a spot near you in the near future. So gotta keep the options open.
So I want to talk about your career coming to an end, and then the alcoholism and addiction getting out of control. What brought you to your knees?
No, I mean, alcohol is my biggest demon, and I think that it was purpose. So between 2009, after I retired, and 2015, when I was able to get sober, it was you know, like I just didn't. There wasn't a purpose, I think, and it was something that you have to look inside. I say that it took the love of a woman, not for me. It took a love of a woman to show me that I deserve to love myself. So, and had to do the hard work. And you know, I know out there for anybody who's struggling and doing it, because I struggled on and off, well documented for a lot of years. And, you know, for me, it was getting real with myself, but it was also developing a relationship with the cannabis plant and finding out, you know, where some of the misses, and the big thing with my, you know, recovery is a lot to do with the CBDs and the CBNs for the sleep and stuff like this. Yes, for the ADHD and all the mental stuff, you know, need the THC and stuff, but it's figuring out your own system. So getting sober through the love of you know, people in Michigan, because of being able to the medical marijuana program, and Rick Simpson oil. God bless Rick Simpson. I should have a Canadian Merit of Honor for developing that medicine, the plant concentrated form, because that's what got the physical addiction of alcohol away. You know, the best part this time around is I look at alcohol like olives. I mean, I don't have an inkling for it. There's no use for it in my life. And it's just because of, you know, finding, looking in the mirror, not lying to that person, surrounding myself with, you know, with good people that, and when I say by good people, it's people that are on the same path that you're on, trying to accomplish the same things that you're trying to accomplish. That's all it's all about. Line yourself with people that are trying to do the same thing. So for me, I got the Darren McCarty Cannabis brand, which is the CBD roll on and the gummies and the flower and all that stuff, which is stuff that I've created for myself and for other alcoholic insomniacs and people who use cannabis as an option. So that's the number one question. So, yeah, you know, don't wish that I didn't have to go through some of the things that I've gone through, but I understand going through them is in order to get here right now. And, yeah, every day just try to be better than the next. And, it's led me to almost 8 years, you know, sober and, on this path where, you know, I'm able to do my comedy tour, able to do wrestling, the band, you know, Woodward Sports, you know, all the stuff with the Red Wings. So I'm grateful. I truly am.
Well, you know, you talked earlier about, you know, it'd be nice if you had been able to do all this stuff without having to go through it. If you knew now what you would, if you knew then what you know now, how things could have been. But you needed that experience, because that experience has made you, you know, incredibly and uniquely useful to be, you know, of service to other people. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely,
We need to have
100%.
that, right? Yeah.
100%.
So,
And that's sort of the sacrifice.
yeah, you've talked about Big D Energy Sports. We do have a clip of you getting into it with one of your cohorts. Let's roll that, Vic. Oh, it's oh yeah, sorry, Darren defense, but you know what? I'll tell you what, we can.
Was I defending Steve Eiserman? Probably. That's the thing I get most
I
heated
think
about.
you're talking. Yeah. Here, let's have a
talk
listen.
about arguably the greatest team ever assembled. They don't talk about Darren McCarty. They talk about all the guys I just mentioned,
They're
adding
not
Chelios,
supposed to talk
adding
about
Brett Hull,
Darren
Dominic
McCarty, you
Hasek.
dumbass. Darren McCarty's supposed to do his job, so you talk about the rest of them. Because you know what? Every now and then, because you know what happens, Sam? And you ask this, grind line go. Why? Because every once out of 10 times, the big guys couldn't get it done. So when did it come down to? Right? When push came to shove. Oh, 98, I'm sorry. Who scored the overtime goal in game 2 of the finals? Was that Chris Draper? Oh, no. Was it Sergei Fed? No, it was Chris Draper. So look at all the timing when it has to happen. Because it's all about not when your big guys get her done. It's can you have your role guys step in?
So there you go. There's a little taste of Darren.
You pulled up a Sam Flannel take. Sam Flannel also is, we call him the legend killer. You should hear his take on Ben Wallace, but I won't go there. So, yeah, some kids these days need to be put in their place. So that's what I deal with on the daily. I don't always yell,
Well, listen,
but when I do.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Darren, for taking the time to be here. Once again, the book is My Last Fight: The True Story of a Hockey Rock Star, and soon to be released. Life's a Grind and Enjoy My Truth. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, you can find. Yep, Mess Bucket Comics. You can find that at Mess Bucket Comics or anywhere. Darren McCarty 4, anywhere you social media. Darren McCarty.
Well, this has been fun, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, Darren.
You got it, Joe. Anytime, bud. Appreciate it. Love the fact that, like, I think that out of the podcasts out there, the fact that what you do with Canadian athletes and stuff, it brings us back. For all of us who have lived, maybe abroad for a little bit, this has a little bit of home. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, D-Mac, the one and only. We got more sports when we come back.
What our kids breathe matters more than ever. But how can you tell if a school is safe to breathe in? If you could actually see what's in the air, would you keep them home? Introducing Air Patrol, making the invisible visible, ensuring schools are safer for everyone. Breathe safely.
My Swiss pick of the week. Last week, I went out to Mohawk for the grassroots final for 3-year-old Philly Trotters. I took the number 1 horse, Smashing Rackets. Now, she had the lead after a very quick first half. Looked like she might hang on to win it, but Pretty Special had some kind of finishing kick. Let's get the call.
3-5. Chris Christoforou has not moved yet. He just took a peek over his left shoulder and said, good night. Pretty Special and OSS Grassroots final winner under wraps. Holding second, Smashing Rackets. It appeared to be Sweet Determination in third. 153-2. New race win record.
Yes, Chris Christoforou drove the winner. Pretty Special, trained by Camilla Christoforou, owned by Bradley Grant. Let's hear it from the winning driver.
It was one of those things where it was kind of late, and she had done well in the grassroots, and it was probably an easier spot for her. And like I said, this filly, she has tremendous speed for a piece, and but she's very erratic. And like I said, it's all Camilla on this one. I'm just a passenger.
It's one of the big days in the Woodbine Slate, the 84th edition of the Canadian International, 1.5 miles on the EP Taylor turf. I'm taking Nation's Pride, an Irish bred owned by Godolphin Stables, trained by Chris Appleby, ridden by Bill Buick. This is the same awesome combination that captured last month's Rico Woodbine Mile with Masters of the Sea. Nation's Pride has 8 wins and 13 career starts with almost $3 million in earnings, including this victory about a year ago at the Caesars Jockey Club Derby at Belmont. So far this year, the 4-year-old has 2 wins and 1/3 in 3 starts, $700,000 in purses for 2023. So there's your pick. Go to woodbine.com for all the latest racing info, replays on YouTube. You can also get the latest from Woodbine Thoroughbred and Woodbine Standardbred on Instagram and X. Go to hpibet.com, darkhorsebets.com, and bet365 for your wagering options.
Discover the finest patio experience in Toronto at the Stella Artois Terrace. Situated on the 3rd floor of Woodbine Racetrack, delight in mouth-watering shared appetizer and raise a toast to the evening. Relish expertly prepared main courses that will tantalize your taste buds. Capture the beauty of sunsets. Indulge in delectable desserts. Secure your reservation today and immerse yourself in the excitement of the races. Enjoy an unparalleled view of the thrilling finish line.
Well, it's a special place, and the food is great, the atmosphere, it's really a nice experience.
Experience the enchantment of Stella Artois Terrace. Open 4 days a week. Undoubtedly the city's premier patio destination.
Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Attention security seekers. Ready to take control? Introducing Corporate Protection and Investigative Services, your ultimate solution. Retailers tired of losing profits to theft? Our retail loss prevention experts have you covered. Mobile patrol, close body protection, insured door persons, we've got your security needs covered from all angles. Background investigations and civil recovery programs, trust us for thorough solutions. Licensed by the Ministry of Solicitor General, fully insured and bonded. Visit www.corporateprotection.ca or call 1-800-827-1692 for top-notch security and private investigation services. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian and local sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Zingo TV, Buzz TV Live. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are there and some shorts. Clip on there, click and like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Once again, thanks to Darren McCarty, DMAC, for being on the show. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678.
Air quality at work matters more than ever, but there's no way to tell if a space is safe to breathe in. If you could actually see what's in the air, would you even come to work? Introducing Air Patrol, making the invisible visible, ensuring workplaces are safer for everyone. Breathe safely.
Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit SleepyHollowCountryClub.com. Hi there, I'm Joe Tilley. Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Next March, during the enchanting cherry blossom season, join me and my wife for an unforgettable 2-week journey to Japan and South Korea. In Japan, you'll experience the magic of the season as we visit the stunning Osaka Castle against a backdrop of cherry blossoms. Feed the adorable Sika deer at Nara Park, glide through picturesque landscapes on the famed bullet train, cruise on Lake Kawaguchi, and witness the awe-inspiring view of Mount Fuji. Relax in natural hot springs and savor a delightful Fuji dinner banquet while dressing in traditional robes. And of course, we'll dive into Tokyo's cutting-edge technology scene. In Korea, dress in elegant hanbok attire and step back in time at Cheongdokgung Palace. Wander through Andong Village, a true glimpse into Korea's rich heritage. Delight your taste buds with the flavors of Korean barbecue. We'll even visit the DMZ area to get a glimpse of mysterious North Korea. And guess what? This incredible journey is all yours for just $54.99, all-inclusive, with direct flights from Vancouver or $58.99 from Toronto. Book now to unlock up to an extra $1,700 in upgrades and savings. Let's make some memories. Let's explore. Let's travel. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.